Hi, welcome to Actual Spinster. My name is Anna Marie. There'll be a link in my description box to a GoFundMe for Ala and her family whilst they're stuck in Gaza. If you could check that out, I would be grateful. So today's video is going to be about books from the 1920s that are on my TBR. I did like maybe 3 years ago now make a video where I showed like a few physical books that I had on my TBR, but I mostly just talked about books that I did not have that I wanted to read from the 1920s. Don't look that video up because I haven't really read very many of the books I mentioned in it, but I thought I would show you these books that I now like physically own, because one of my goals for the year is to like get back on the wagon of reading books from the 1920s because did I do it last year? I think I didn't do that last year. Or maybe I did. Maybe I read one. But either way, like, I used to be reading a lot more. And, like, some of that is because I have kind of, like, read some of the big names, at least in my kind of area of expertise. So, you know, like Virginia Woolf, blah, blah. And also, like, I'm not that interested in what men are doing in the 1920s, so yeah. Yeah, so I have these books to show. Some of them, like, you will know, and also a couple of them are from a recent book haul. But I just kind of thought it would be, like, a nice way to kind of take stock and see what is on my shelf and then, like, focus on it more. Yeah, this isn't in order, but I guess I could have done it in chronological order. Maybe I should have, but I'm not gonna. So we've got Open the Door by Catherine Carswell. I think this one's from 1920, yeah. It's about a woman who goes to the Glasgow School of Art, I think, and I think it's kind of about like independence, like for a woman in that time period. Then there's this, which obviously has like a really excellent cover with a classically kind of 1920s like Art Nouveau-y. Is that right? Maybe that's not right. So this is Mr. Ma and Son by Lao She, translated by William Dolby, and yeah. This is about Mr. Ma, who's newly arrived from China, and his son Ma Wei, who run an antique shop nestled by St. Paul's Cathedral. I feel like this is going to make me homesick, actually, and yeah, they're trying to make a living amid the smog and bustle of 1920s London. Both a moving story of the Chinese immigrant experience and a bitingly funny satire on the English. And I think this one is from 1929, so we went from 1920 to 1929. I think this is back to 1920, actually. This is The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I've always had like a hesitancy to read this because I kind of wanted to read Edith Wharton's work, or like the work of hers that I'm interested in chronological order, but I have not done that. I think the first I would have started with was maybe House of Mirth, or like maybe Ethan Frome, but I've had this for an extremely long time. Like, I think I got this as a teenager. Again, we have a similar like vibe for the cover, like the kind of dress and the kind of drawing style. It's actually not as bad as like a lot of those terrible like Wordsworth editions look like, but this is pretty slim as a novel actually, but it's set during the 1870s in upper class New York, and is kind of like, I don't know, about love. I have also been trying to avoid like spoilers for this, which is quite hard, so that's why that description was terrible. The next is kind of this, like the whole collection isn't part of this, but there is one story I believe that is from the 1920s. Yeah, there's one called To the Adventurous in here from 1923, so that's kind of like on the list. Oh, this is Horror Stories by E. Nesbit, sorry. Then I have this, which is The Last September by Elizabeth Bowen, which is from 1929 again, I think. It's like an Irish novel, a comedy of manners. Sorry, there's some like interesting and also slightly bizarre comments on the back of this, but anyway, I'm definitely interested in Elizabeth Bowen's writing. I haven't read any of her work before, so. Then we have, oh yeah, A Rose Macaulay, and I showed A Rose Macaulay, and I will show it again in this video recently. I kind of forgot that like it was the same author actually, but this is Dangerous Ages by her, which is about 3 women, I think. Oh no, 2. But it's about like a woman who is celebrating her 43rd birthday, and also her mother, who is 63, and kind of like them contemplating life. It is about 3, I think, because there's the 3rd woman who is the sister of Neville, who's 43, and the sister is 33, which apparently is a dangerous age. I did get 8 pages into this. I'll definitely restart it. The other Rose Macaulay book that I have is Potterism, a tragic-farcical tract, which I spoke about in my recent haul video. But this is like a satire, I believe, about the like world of British newspapers during the First World War and also into the 1920s, although this was published in like 1920, so I'm not really sure how much into the 1920s it can go. And it's about like the family behind like a big newspaper family business, like the Potter family, and it looks very interesting. I think like I am really excited to read this. Not like the most out of these, but like it is kind of high considering I just like picked it up because I was like, well, they didn't have the one I wanted. And then the other one is another that I showed in that video, which is Latchkey Ladies by Marjorie Grant, which again is about like women trying to live and like stumbling up against the edges of their independence in London in post First World War, like just post First World War life. There's 4 women that it's writing about. And then I've just got 2 more. So this is Bread Givers by Anzia Yezierska, which I've also spoken about before. I think some of these also, like the ones that I got last year, will have been in my All the Classics I got in 2024 video, so I will have talked about them then. But this is set in the Lower East Side in New York and is about Sarah Smolinski, the youngest daughter of an Orthodox rabbi. And I think it's kind of also about like her creating her own sense of Jewish womanhood, finding her place in America. It is also set in the 1920s. I think it was published in 25. And then the last one is one that is like kind of technically not on my TBR, and technically kind of because I haven't finished it, but that is Silka the Wild by Zizman Segalovich, translated by Daniel Kennedy from Yiddish. Yeah, I'm like 92 pages in. I've just been like reading it really slowly. I think I paused this on Storygraph because I was like, I'm not like concentrating on it really at the moment, but I will definitely like finish this at some point. I have been enjoying it. It's about this 19-year-old girl called Silka who's like lived in the forest with like her aunt and her dad, who's like the kind of, it's not, groundskeeper isn't the right word, but kind of that kind of thing for this like forest. And there's like a rich family whose son is kind of interested in Silka, and like I mean we haven't got super far in like terms of that plot, but yeah. So yeah, those are like all of the books from the 1920s, I think, that are on my TBR, which is like a chunk, and like definitely it should be smaller considering like, yeah, I just really haven't been reading books from the 1920s in the past few years, and I think that's a shame because I'm really interested in that time period. It's just because obviously like, well maybe not obviously, but my academic focus changed away from the 1920s, which I didn't expect it to, but it just like happened that way. And so as a result of that, I've been then spending more of my time you know, reading things from slightly earlier eras, or just like, yeah, and then but then not picking these up in my kind of more free time, which I just should, because like, you know, even if I am academically interested in them, I can also still read them like outside of an academic focus. But I also might, I guess like I could also write a little about some of them for my new Substack, because I'm kind of trying to also figure out the parameters of that and the kinds of writing I might like write on there and share. It's called Heroines of Labour. I guess I'll put it in the description box because I did mention it. Okay, can I do this? Let me know if you read any of these. And if so, like what you thought, or if I should like prioritize some of them. Obviously like I'm most inclined to like finish this one, and then honestly maybe Potterism is the next one that I would pick up, but hopefully also Bread Givers maybe. I'm definitely really interested in Mr. Ma and Son, so I think that's in the kind of like priority kind of choices, but who knows, I'm so contrarian. We'll just have to wait and see. Cool, I hope you're having a nice day when you're watching this. And yeah, I will talk to you when I next talk to you.